A super thanks to begin from Stephen Goltz. Curious, has Aubrey lost his alien status after Sunday? Our kickers. I'm going to lean no, because he missed the one kick, and the other one was blocked. So I'm going to say no. But this is for the people. So what do you think? Is Brandon Aubrey still an alien? You can spam the alien emoji in the comment section for yes, or simply type in N for no. Abja Pawar, let Dak deal. How does our front seven match up against their front seven? Wide receivers versus corner. Is this Green Bay team better or worse than last year's Green Bay team? I think they're better than last year's Packers team. They're not as good as some previous ones with Aaron Rodgers. You also blew that game against Green Bay last year. Defensively, I think your front seven matches up fairly favorably with their front seven. I think your receivers are better than their corners. Their defense is not very good, and their secondary has struggled, especially as of late. You should have success against their defense overall. You should be able to, as you like to say, Object, let Dak deal. Chris B, call me crazy. I'd rather have a Ben Johnson than Bill Belichick. Part of what I think from a defensive standpoint, you definitely want Bill. Bill's still great defensively. Bill's issues are he's made a lot of bad decisions as a general manager. He's missed, as producer Chris knows, a Patriots fan, although he's dying over the years with it. He made a lot of bad decisions, and the offense was terrible in New England. And Bill Belichick picked the coordinators and picked the head and picked the QB. He deserves some blame there. The floor might be lower with Ben Johnson, but current version of Bill Belichick, not the greatest coach ever, because you got a few years left of Bill, I think, anyway. I think the ceiling has the potential to be higher for Ben Johnson. Chris B says, forget about Bill. Let's go win a freaking game. I completely agree, but I also know how this business tends to work. We'll do both here on the channel. Alan Dodd. If the Cowboys lose to Green Bay, will Jerry get Bill Belichick? So there you go. That's your scenario to how this potentially goes down. If you have an epic disaster class and not even losing like maybe losing like it did to the Niners past 2 years, but if you get like, what was the year of the Cowboys-Vikings playoff game where they got 34-3, whatever it was, if that happens, then it could end up being the case. There's no excuse to lose in the wild card round. At home, as the 2 seed. Shouldn't happen. Who would you rather have as your head coach if you had to pick one? BB for Bill Belichick, MM for Mike McCarthy. Sound off for me in the comments section. Abja Pawar, in general, is Mike McCarthy better than Jason Garrett? What changed? In general, absolutely. I think what you have in McCarthy is upgraded versions of what you had in Jason Garrett. And Garrett was not a terrible head coach. I mean, he wasn't Nathaniel Hackett. But McCarthy, I think, is maybe at times better in-game management. The big difference, I think McCarthy does a good job of empowering his defensive staff in a very impressive way. Garrett was never bad in that area either. I think McCarthy does a fantastic job of managing the week for players. I think he's a very player-friendly coach. So is Garrett. The big difference in the Garrett era and the Mike era is that McCarthy, especially post-bye, has been much more willing and aggressive. He is not nearly as scared as Garrett was, because every time the Cowboys went on the road, Garrett went into his shell on offense. And Garrett's philosophy was the same philosophy that the Cowboys won their Super Bowls with. He wanted to run the ball, establish the run, control the clock, and only later on do they finally allow, guys like Romo to air it out. And even early on in the Garrett era with Dak, it was a lot of runs and third down bailouts. There was not much early down passing. That was a big difference for the Stavs there. So I think in general, absolutely, Mike McCarthy is better than Jason Garrett. Question is he better enough? Today's show is made possible by Mando. How many times have you heard someone say, new year, new me? Well, how many times have you heard someone say, New Year, no stink? That's what Mando is all about. They are here to make sure 2024 is the year you showcased your best hygiene. If you suffer from stinky feet, pits, or even below the belt, then Mando's doctor-developed and clinically proven odor blocker is worth giving a shot. And new customers can get $5 off a starter pack at shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. You don't want to smell like the smelly guy on the bus who doesn't believe in deodorant. So ditch that stink and get with Mando today. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. We've also got a discount code to help you guys out. $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That's C-H-A-T. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Stuart Mitchell wants to know, who gets the practice squad call-up this week for the Cowboys? Good question. Again, they reset in the postseason, so I am inclined to go with one of your linebackers. I think it's going to be Malik Jefferson. Maybe it's Buddy Johnson. I'd be surprised if it was Damian Wilson, but you can't rule that one out. And I think insert special teams player here. Princeton Fant and Malik Davis have been the popular call-ups as of late. Maybe Sheldrick Redwine, but he also got called up and then was a scratch last week. Give me your score predictions of the Cowboys against the Panthers. Go ahead and or the Packers, excuse me. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. I assume it's going to be the Cowboys winning, but if not, please clarify for me. Pug Racer, there is no excuse to not win the wild card round. I completely agree. If you do not win this game, and I think you should, that is my expectation, that's everyone's expectation around this organization, you got to think long and hard about changes. You have to, because it did not go well enough for you. From Pug Racer, again, new year, new Cowboys, or new year, same old Cowboys? It is up to the Cowboys organization to prove to us they are different than the team that's lost the Niners the past few seasons. Prove that you are, and frankly, beating the Packers even in the postseason has always been an issue too, through no real fault of your quarterbacks either. Prove it. Prove that this is a different year for the Cowboys. We'll see what happens. From Vince, the Cowboys play all these players like Dak, CeeDee, Tyler, Micah. How many years until they arrive in Cap Hill? Will Cap Boy help save us? Here's the great part. You're not going to be in Cap Hell until you aren't competitive. If the Cowboys do this properly, you can, and I'm dead serious here, you can pay Dak, pay CeeDee, and pay Micah this offseason. And in particular for your 2024 salary cap, you're going to save money. Because what you will do is do what you with the Dak deal, where you pay Dak $40 million a year, and he's barely averaged $20 million on the salary cap. And you will backload that deal, push it off into the future, and then take your medicine when you're not competitive. When you don't have an actual window to win NFC East championships and get into the postseason and do more. And remember this part too. The salary cap continues to go up. And think about who your bigger contracts were previously. Obviously, Dak remains a constant. Tank Lawrence already took a pay cut for you, by the way. You had Tyron Smith. You had Zach Martin. You had Amari Cooper. You had Ezekiel Elliott. By the time these new deals hit, your core of Dak, CeeDee, Tyler, Micah, Diggs, Bland, etc., your other guys are going to be off the books. And you'll basically always borrow a little bit from the future, and you can do that infinitely. Now, you can't go full Saints necessarily, but you will be okay. How many times has the word cap hell been put around this Cowboys team? It's been 10 years of it. Not in it yet. You can manipulate the salary cap, and Dallas will. Now, we will be live for the Cowboys-Packers playoff game, as you should all know, over an hour and a half before kickoff. We might do 2 hours. We'll see. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos, and don't miss out on our awesome watch party. Chris B says Jair Alexander might not play. CD 200+ yards. We don't, as of filming, I don't have the game status or the Friday participation report, but Alexander did roll his ankle in the walkthrough on Wednesday and did not practice today. So if he can't practice Friday, things get very dicey. Decent chance A.J. Dillon does not go. Elton Jenkins also downgraded too, which is worth monitoring. Lone Wolf just got here. How are the injuries looking? Same as Wednesday, except that Stephon Gilmore went from a DNP to limited. So Tyler Smith and Stephon Gilmore should all be set to play for you. Darnell, Al Harris for defensive coordinator if Dan Quinn leaves. I know that everyone knows who Al Harris is because he played football, right? And you see him in the challenge with the sideline stuff, and you see him more on the sideline. The stoic guy next to Dan Quinn, when you see him cut to the booth, that is Joe Witt. And I think Joe Witt is the first man up for the next Cowboys DC job. He's a Mike McCarthy guy. He was a finalist and interviewed for the job that went to Dan Quinn, mind you. He's called plays in the preseason. I love Al Harris. Do not get me wrong. He's done a great job. He's more of a technique guy. Witt is more of the schematic guy. And for defensive coordinator, you want the schematic guy. So in the event that Dan Quinn leaves, pick a DC for me. JW for Joe Witt, AH for Al Harris. Sound off in the comment section right now. From Not Jeremy Chugs' burner, will Jair follow CD into the slot? Maybe. I would wager yes from that perspective. So I think that if he plays, yes, we'll see if he ends up playing. We'll keep an eye on that one. David B., how valuable is Will McClay in your opinion? I think immensely valuable. There's nobody in that front office that is more important to the Dallas Cowboys than Will McClay. He is your de facto shadow GM. He's done a fantastic job of managing all the different inputs and personalities from ownership to head coaches over the years. The Cowboys' Jerry Yacht draft was super good because it was the year they most listened to their scouting staff led by Will McClay. Go figure on that front. At some point, I do think Will McClay is going to say, Dallas, I love you. I will always love you. I want to run everything of my own accord. And that will simply never happen in Dallas. The ownership, Jerry and Steven, would never step far enough aside. So at some point, I do think Will McClay will leave. It'll be a very sad day for the Cowboys. Hopefully it's not anytime soon. Lone Wolf, Vrabel for DC. He's not going to settle for being a defensive coordinator. I'd do it in a heartbeat, especially if Dan leaves. He's not going to leave though. So, or he's not going to be a DC. So take him off of put him on your pipe dream list. Just not going to happen. Same with Bill. Fat Sushi Man, you're back. Would you extend Osa and for how much? I don't know. I would be surprised if he got a massive deal. He's shown flashes of it, but I think if you don't extend Osa on the cheap or cheaper this offseason, he'll hit the open market, he'll hit free agency, and he might get a bigger deal than you expect. So I like Osa Odighizuwa. I've seen a lot of flashes. I think Osa and to a lesser extent Biadasz. I think Osa is a better player, so I guess maybe a bigger extent Biadasz. I think Osa is better. Is this. When you're paying big contracts, what you need to avoid, you need to avoid this anyway, unless you're rebuilding and bad and you have money to burn, you need to avoid paying good players great money. And my concern is that, Osa, and to a worse extent, Tyler Biadasz fit that mold. If you want to pay Osa $15 million a year, pay Biadasz 10. I kind of don't. From Chris B., our final one, draft Byron Murphy from Texas. Don't pay Osa a lot. Will Murphy be there in the second? I don't know, but I do think Murphy makes more sense for DeVonta Sweat because he can be a Osa replacement.